Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is me, and today I will be reading Chapter 136 of Engagement in Peril by Dara Ado Sup. Chapter 136 is titled Filthy Oahu Spring Break. Another long trip and memories from Shinshin's diary of his relationship with that devil girl who had drowned his life with lies and diseases. The entire time that girl was on this Hawaiian trip with Shinshin, she would sneak off to call and text me about how horny she was and what she would do to me if I were there with her. Besides messaging and talking to me, she called and talked to her other male friends and her mother as well, always making the excuses that she was talking to her mother, whatnot, and Shinshin was so stupid and ignorant to see what she was really doing to him the whole time in their so-called relationship. I truly wish Shinshin would have just waken the fuck up and saw her for what she really is. I'm so sorry for being so stupid against you, my dear Shinshin. I wish I could have told you then what that conniving girl was doing to you behind your back. Trip to Oahu, Hawaii. In Waikiki for 5 nights and 6 days. April 3rd to April 8th, 2007. April 3rd, 2007. Tuesday. For spring break of 2007, Delilah and I went to spend 5 nights and 6 days in Oahu, Hawaii, the third largest and most populated of all 8 Hawaiian islands. We had it all planned out. We were going to drive around the whole island from Honolulu to North Shore and see as much as we can. Like always, on any trip on a plane to somewhere, we had to plan it out carefully and meticulously to prevent her mother from catching on. I had to get to the airport and to our terminal before Delilah did, so her mother wouldn't think the wiser, since her mother will be going and taking her to the airport to drop her off. We planned our trip to Hawaii secretively away from her mother's prying eyes. Luckily, this spring semester, I was making a good amount of money from my long-term subbing job at Wilson. I had accepted a long-term assignment at Wilson High School where I taught a mild to severe classroom of various disabled students. I have 4 female aides in there to help teach and tend to the students' academics and activities needs, and these classroom aides and caretaker are decent, wonderful people, I tell you. One day I discussed my plans with Delilah for spring break with my classroom staff, and they made some suggestion and recommendations. Miss Cindy hooked me up with her sister's passcode so I can get discount on my car rental with Enterprise Car Services. There in Oahu. I'm currently subbing for Miss Roxy, who had been out for about a month now, and I recently found out that she may not return for the rest of the school year. She had fallen in her bathtub at home and had broken her hip. I'm sorry to hear that she had injured herself in that way. Hope she gets well. I was also asked to stay at the classroom subs- I was also asked to stay as a classroom substitute teacher for the rest of the school year. I have no problem in accepting this job, and I will be getting long-term pay as a result of which will allow and afford me to pay for this Hawaiian trip with Delilah this spring. I will be teaching this classroom for the next 4 months, and perhaps get a chance to return in the fall also. Wishful thinking on my part, of course. Once we've checked in and allowed to board our flight to Oahu, Hawaii, Delilah and I left LAX around 06 a.m. and sat in seat 22A and 22B, and we transferred to another flight in San Francisco around 9 a.m. and sat in seat 25G and 25H. I had to go to LAX several hours before Delilah did because we still had to hide our relationship from our harsh, crippling whore of a mother. So I got to the airport around 04 a.m. that early morning, and my brother Dara had dropped me off when he came to my apartment around 03 a.m. to drive me to LAX. I waited around before checking in until they opened the check-in booth at the American Airline ticket counter, and I waited behind the security checkpoint for Delilah. After a good long wait for her, she finally came through the security checkpoint, and we made our way toward our flight's gate. We waited a bit and then were let onto the plane. We boarded the American Airline plane together and sat side by side in each other's company to San Francisco. We held hands and sneaked off several kisses before arriving in San Francisco. We had a good we had about an hour or more layover in San Francisco before we were headed to Hawaii. So we kissed and hugged and ate some breakfast there, and then from San Francisco on, we went on another American airline flight. We flew to Oahu and got to the Hawaiian island of Oahu around 1:30 p.m. that Tuesday afternoon. Once we exited the plane and made our way out from the crowded airport, we took an airport shuttle to Enterprise Rent-A-Car and got a rent-a-car which I got half price off discount because of Miss Cindy's hookup with her sister employee code. From the car rental area, we drove in our creamy white Dodge Stratus to our hotel located in the beautiful city of Waikiki. Delilah checked us in at our hotel and we stayed at the Continental Surf for the rest of our trip in Oahu. The nice hotel was only several blocks away from the beautiful beaches of Waikiki. Before checking in, we decided to get something to eat first, so we went to Todai several miles away. It was similar to the Todai there in Westminster, California, where we ate mixture of Asian American cuisine and had our fill. We ate as much as we can, and after we checked back into our hotel, and after resting for a little bit, Delilah and I made love for the rest of the day. Our room was situated on the 12th floor of this high-rise hotel. We left our window wide open while we gave each other oral copulations and heavy, penetrating sexual intercourse that evening through. Afterward, we made exhausting love and heavily stained sex all over the mattress and floor. We need not bother to clean off. Instead, we decided to go down to the beach nearby and hang out. Waikiki was really a beautiful place. The beach water was really crystal clear blue and warm. The sand was white and smooth. No jagged pebbles to sting your feet and soles. The weather was perfect and beautiful. Just simply perfect, Lord. We spent our first day and night in Waikiki driving around the area and walk around taking in the nightlight and nightlife. Waikiki seemed to be filled with nighttime people. It hardly seemed no one ever sleeps here. People were up and about around 2 or 3 in the morning, walking around and having nightcaps, whatnot, and just enjoying being with their significant other, like we were. Around here in Waikiki, things were much more busy at the nighttime. We decided to go to bed around midnight that evening, somewhat still jet-lagged from our flight before turning in for the night, and after Delilah talked to her mom about her day and adventure, where I patiently kept my mouth shut as she told her mother how her day went and what events she accomplished that day. And after all was ready and we had time for ourselves, we made love several more times. We both showered and had rough, passionate sex together in the shower stall as I exploded my warm, boiling, waxy, creamy in and all over Delilah as she swallowed down what I had to offer. In sweaty heat, I ate away at her warm jelly muffin as she oozed salty, creamy goo into my receiving mouth. I sucked and pulled at her elongated labia malformation while turning her on. Making love to Delilah is a wonderful thing, and I can't believe that I am able to do this with her. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. I hope that this continue for a long time. In God's name I pray. April 4th, 2007, Wednesday. Second day in Waikiki. After a long night of hot, heavy, passionate sex, Delilah and I arose around 10 a.m. the next morning, got ready, had a quick and sticky sex in the process, cleaned up once again, and then drove around town. We made love several more times that morning. We were both fucking machines then. I can't seem to get enough of this girl and quite enjoying stuffing my piece in and out of her warm, saggy snatch. We drove around town and looking for various beautiful spots to take pictures and fool around. After we stopped at a site, we decided to go on a hike to find a waterfall that someone had told us about. To our surprise, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. There was no waterfall. This hike turned out pretty bad for the moment. During our walks in frustration, we argued and fought over the stupidest thing. I wish that didn't happen then. From her anger and frustration, Delilah accidentally tripped and pushed me down. She was blaming me for deciding to come to this area in the first place. After apologizing to each other and coming to an understanding, we made up. And after our arguing, we continued on to the end of the trail. We walked over grassy fields and jagged rocks toward the ends of the trail. And what we saw wasn't any type of waterfall. It didn't qualify as such. It was a small pond with several drops of water trickling down from and over the bushy bluff above. Now, if it was raining, then it would have been a waterfall. We both had a nice small laugh about it and embraced each other. We both laughed over the matter and took picture in front of the water of the found small pond anyhow. After our picture taking, and since we argue over nothing, we decided not to fool around there in the shallow pond. Although I wish we had. I wanted so bad to make love to Delilah there. Since we were all alone, I wanted so bad to explode into her once again in that small pond area, just like I had done this morning and last night back at our room at the Continental Surf Hotel. Instead, we both decided to walk back to our rental vehicle several miles back. Once we arrived to our car, we boarded and went for more driving. We managed to find a Walmart in the town of Waikiki. We went in there to shop for some perishable food and items. We got some microwavable food for our room, and we got several bottled water, too. Food was quite expensive in Hawaii for some reason. Luckily, we managed to find a Walmart. Afterward, we went to eat. Afterward, we went out to eat once more at the local food and fruit stands on and around the island. Later on that afternoon, we decided to take a swim in the clear blue water of Waikiki. We drove several blocks down to the beach in the park area, found a good parking spot, got dressed in our bathing suit of shorts and t-shirts, and got down to swimming. There were many other tourists there visiting and patronizing the beaches during the spring break. Some were European, based on their speech and accent. Some came from Asian countries, and some were from South America, based on their God-given features. The water was warm and clear. I wore my wetsuit, and Delilah wore her pink top and pink swim trunk. She was somewhat embarrassed of her chubby physique, and had thought a two-piece bikini was in for her. Besides, Delilah doesn't really shave down there in her pubic region, and she was somewhat quite bushy and hairy all over nonetheless. Delilah was practically hairy all over. She still had that visible baby hair all over her chubby body. She usually had to shave her face and neck area from the obvious light follicle. Looking at her arm, you can tell that she was naturally hairy. I didn't mind anything about Delilah's hairy or chubby body, whatnot. I saw nothing wrong with her body. I loved her all the same. We spent about an hour or so in the water. We took several pictures of each other in the water. We fooled around, fondling, poking, and stroking each other under the water, getting ourselves ready for another day full of sex and sins. And afterward, we went back to our hotel and made sweet, passionate love once again, had sex and sexually pleasuring each other until we both came all over each other once again. We didn't bother to wash off the salt water from our soaked body. We just simply fucked our sticky, salty body against each other before showering and cleaning off the dirty residue. Afterward, we had completely exhausted each other of strength and breath. After a good hour or two of sloppy, exhausting sex, giving each other oral copulation and stroking each other to the point of exhaustion, we walked around the nightly lit Hawaiian city that evening. Window shopping, ate and drank some food, and we picked up from the local vendors and enjoyed the rest of the night together, strolling along with our hands held and stealing soft kisses whenever we felt like it. I love being with this girl. April 5th, 2007, Thursday. Third day. It's Thursday today here in Oahu, and Delilah and I decided to spend several hours at the Aloha Stadium swap meet this morning. We both got up around 10 a.m. and prepared ourselves. Ate our microwave food and goodies, finger banged each other for a bit, And after we got dressed, we left our hotel and headed toward the Oahu Aloha Stadium to shop at their famous outdoor swap meet. You know, it wasn't actually inside the stadium. It was situated all around the large football stadium. We shopped around for knickknacks, souvenirs, and other junks, mainly looking for gifts for our friends and family back in California. I was looking for gifts to give to my fun classroom staff at Wilson, since they are two on the spring break for the moment. Something small and warm for them, I thought. Just a little appreciation that I want to show to them for their hard work and effort in helping to teach these special kids that we all worked with. After we drove around the not so third big island looking for various things and looking for anything, just simply sightseeing the whole area. We drove along the coastline while looking for Hanama Bay and the Coco Crater area next to it, which was told and recommended for me by Miss Cindy, who had been there before with her parents during her younger days, and that the bay was one of the places she had visited, and it's great for snorkeling and scuba diving, whatnot. I wanted to find this beautiful place and take the Delilah there so I can share with my lover, of course. I have grown so deeply stuck on this girl, Lord. After a good hour of coasting, whatnot, around and along the island freeway and byway, well, there wasn't that many highways there anyhow. We managed to find the popular Hanunoma Bay area. Since there was a free fee and charge to park onto and to enter the bay, we decided to swim in a cove right beneath the Coco crater that was next to it, off the coastline instead. It was really it was it was really beautiful there at this cove. People were just jumping and diving from rocks and snorkeling there in the cove, and pleasant and it was a great and pleasant sight too. A good sight to see. We parked at the lookout scenic area, gathered our swimming gear, and walked down the steep bluff of rocks and sand down toward the cove below, where a good amount of people were already using the beautiful sight for their enjoyment and pleasure there at the beach area below. Once down and finding our spot of comfort and choosing, we prepared ourselves and got dressed in our swim attire once again, and went about into the warm clear blue ocean water. We spent several hours there, swimming and enjoying ourselves, and at times I was finger fucking Delilah under the clear, wavy water while she stroked my erect penis underneath. I wanted so bad to make love to her there in the deep, clear blue ocean, but people were looking and swimming around us and about our area as well. She jerked me off well enough and allowed me to explode underneath the water. We both laughed from our whole commotion while she witnessed my creamy cum juice flowing out into the ocean fluid below. Several times we waited for the wave to roll in and out so we could jump and dive into the high rise water section. At times we would climb atop some higher rocks and formation area to jump off into the high water when the wave comes in, just to enjoy our day outing together. Fun times we had that day. After a good long swim and fingering fun underneath the clear water, we gathered our belongings and made our way back up the steep bluff toward our rental vehicle. As I helped Delilah up and away from the cove area to our Dodge Stratus, we boarded our vehicle and decided to keep driving around the entire island and see what we could find, simply discovering the whole island as much as we can. We drove around the island and found a shrimp truck stand and decided to dine there for our lunch meal. The seafood combination food was really good. We had shrimp barbecue with some rice and pineapple slices. Well, I had the pineapple slices since Delilah is highly allergic to freshly cut raw pineapple, so she tells me. Pineapple had to be cooked or microwaved for her to be able to consume it, that's what she had said. And after eating our lunch, we drove on, making more memories of our trip together there in the lovely island of Oahu. We drove through pineapple patches and nursery. We drove through grasslands and secluded highway. During one of our drive into the backwood area of Waikiki, and on the other side of the island, through some secluded road, I convinced Elia to give me head while I was driving, and why I fingered her in the process. We both knew it was dangerous to have sex and drive, but we didn't care. We were fucking machines after all. There were a few cars behind us, and they were probably doing the same things too. We didn't bother to pull over to fool around. We simply enjoyed fondling each other while we were in motion in the moving vehicle. While she gave me head, I stepped on the gas and zoomed the car a little faster, while my right hand kept suffocating her throat with my cock, while anchoring her head into my midsection, causing her to choke and spit up saliva and mucus. I continued to shove her open mouth and head down onto my shaft until I exploded and came into and all over her pretty face once again. From my heavy push on the back of her head and neck onto my heart and shaft, Delilah got upset for a bit, but didn't mind slurping up the passionate hot cum into and down her throat for my rightful enjoyment. My fingering of her warm, gooey orifice didn't stop until she orgasmed from my constant finger jabbing at and into her sloppy snatch. After causing her to come, I took my soak-stained fist and shoved it in my own mouth, slurping up what the lighter womanly juice had to offer then. She giggled and grabbed my right hand away from my mouth and shoved it down her mouth as well, eating up her own creamy juices in the process. We were both quite horribly nasty then. I, I being a Christian and her being a devoted Catholic had sinned so much then with our devilish, sexually charged up passions. Finally, while driving along this small and secluded road, we found a turn-off rest area and decided to pull over into it. We both exited the vehicle and went down to look into the bushes below along a running stream. We were able to we were being devious and we both knew what we wanted from each other then. Once down there, we went about at heavily mouthing each other while our hands were busy at groping and fondling each other's body parts and appendages. I pulled up her blouse, my fingers slipped under her bra and grabbed at her large bee-sized breasts. While squeezing them, I jerked the left boob into my mouth, taking nips with my fangs at her erect nipples and squeezing the right side heavily with my firm baby grip. She jabbed her right hand down my shirt and jerked me off accordingly, arousing and readying me for what was to come next. Being mindful to look around for passerby and other tourists in the area, we found no one, so we had rough, animalistic sex down there in the wooded area along the running stream of Waikiki, atop the wet, moist, grassy area then. With my shorts pulled down to my ankles and with her Victoria's Secret panty torn off and away from her waistline and with her sundress over her belly and upper torso, I thrust and thrust into her as hard as I wanted to, and as hard as she allowed me to. My hands were still gripping and squeezing at her nicely shaped bosom. After a few quick thrusts of my penis into her hot, gooey clitoris, she orally fixated my balls while I ate away at her bushy, elongated, warm vaginal region. I slurped at her excess vaginal skin in my mouth while I licked away at her clitoris with my motor tongue. I continuously ate away at her hot pie until once again I jammed my horn-up penis down hard into her. Delilah had this elongated foreskin of sorts. She had told me once that her mother didn't want that cut off away from her when she was a baby. She said that it gave her character of some sort. That's what her mother had told her. I didn't mind how her pussy looked or feel to me then. I just wanted to eat away at it as one of my favorite dishes. From fucking and orally sucking off each other, we went back to pounding into and against each other. We continued like this for about the next hour, until we both exhausted and had stained over each other once again from our sudden fuckfest. Before finishing, I jabbed at and fondled her clitoris harshly until she urinated all over my hands and face. As I continued to munch down on her while she sprayed her warm yellowish tainted urine all over and about the place. She was pissing all over the place then. Being wasted from making exhausting, sweaty love and fucking each other's brains out on that wet, moist, grassy land, we laid there in the wet, grassy area, soaking up the moist liquid into our clothes and bare skin. Delilah still atop of me, her heaving boobs pressed against my beating heart. I love this girl. I love this very girl here. I love this very girl here, Lord, who is attached to me at this moment, as I thought to myself in my excitement with her. I always tell her that I love her every time we make love, and even if we don't make love, I tell her that I love her. She hardly ever says she loves me, unless I fucked it out of her, and gets her to say it. That's the only time she would tell me that she loves me, when she is being fucked. I've grown pretty clingy to this girl. After we rested for several minutes, We situated our shorts and blouse, washed our dirty hands, and rinsed our faces from the cool water along the slow running stream. We walked back up to our rental car and drove onward around the island for the rest of the day. We drove around and ate at various food carts once again throughout the island. We drove around pretty much until dark. We drove from Honolulu to the North Shore area. We returned to our hotel then, cleaned up, and prepared to go out on foot again for the rest of the night, exploring the Waikiki area once more in the dark. There's always new things we saw and discovered each night out. April 6, 2007, Friday. Fourth day, after a good night outing last night, we returned to our hotel pretty late. We slept in for the next day. We woke up around 11 a.m. and made love for a bit before cleaning up and readying ourselves for today's event. We drove around the Waikiki area once again and went to the Walmart to grocery shop for some perishable food. From then, we decided to go eat at Oahu Chinatown area. It was a nice place to wine and dine. The shopping area here isn't as large as a Chinatown in Los Angeles or San Francisco, not even a block wide, but it was nice at all the same. We bought some Asian cuisine to take back to our hotel room for consumption later that day. Afterward, we drove around the lovely island. We made some stop, chilling and shopping at local ABC stores. These stores were everywhere in Waikiki. They resembled that, and they were like the 7-Elevens of Hawaii. We also drove around the Oahu Island and went to the North Shore beach area once again. The waves and surf here are really, really large and high. It keeps coming and rolling in and out after one after another. Never cease to stop rolling onward. We didn't want to swim in that high tide area. It was kind of dangerous. We saw swimmers and surfers being thrown from their surfboard and boogie board and taken into and under the water while they stupidly tried to master the unwavering force of the great big Pacific Ocean. There's several harbor patrol boats out there in the ocean and beach nearby waiting to rescue stranded swimmer or who have been thrown into the ocean because of their hardcore stupidity and the constant high surf. We took several good pictures here. There were shower stalls and about this area also. There were shower stalls all and about this area also. Delilah and I sneaked into one of those shower stalls and quickly and casually made love in it. Quickly we move on about in the area. Quickly we move about in there. She quickly pulled my shorts down. She gave me head while I finger banged her worn clitoris and snatch. Afterward, I mouthed Afterward, I mouthed her open, elongated clams, and we went about to banging each other like rabid dogs there in the bamboo shower hut. After a good, quick, and exhausting release from both ends and parties, we washed up. We then kissed, hugged, and made our way back to our vehicle for further island exploration. While driving around the island, we found the place and spot where the Jurassic Park movie was made and shot at. It was a really nice. It was really a beautiful jungle spot, almost like a rainforest. Duh, it's an actual rainforest. We took several pictures of the smaller island across the Oahu Island and posed for several pictures with those islands ourselves as we pretended to make hand and face gestures. After our photo shoots and having visited and patronized the local convenience store there, we were both where we bought several large big gold fountain drinks and got some snack. We drove onward. On the road once again we went to Hanama Bay and swam in the beautiful cove once again, and during our swim about the ocean floor, I found several crab there underneath one of the small ocean cave opening there. We swam around and enjoyed ourselves that afternoon, groping and poking at each other, intimately of course. After we got our fills of ocean water and hot sun, we packed, gathered our belongings, and went back to our hotel. A good 30 minutes later, away by car. Once back at our hotel, we, not, we need not bother to clean up. We already knew what we were going to do then once we get back to our room at the Continental Surf. We made sweet dirty love for several more hours there. Then we walked about our area of locality, sightseeing and window shopping. Then got back some snack and food for drinks back at our room, and then we hung around the room and had more heavy, nasty-ass sex. We made love all over and all about the small single bedroom. We soiled ourselves in the shower, on the bed, and all over the room's floor and its four walls. I am so in love with Delilah, Lord. April 7, 2007, Saturday. April 7, 2007, fifth day. We awoke and showered and had more rough sex before dressing ourselves for today's event. We then drove around and about the town of Waikiki. We ate at the local KFC for lunch and went to the swap meet once again to do more shopping. After the flea market, we decided to go take a tour of Pearl Harbor. I wanted to see the USS Arizona, a US Navy battleship that was sunk during the Pearl Harbor attack back on December 7, 1941. Our tour that day went nicely. Many visitors and patrons were there that day. We picked up flyers and pamphlets about the sudden Japanese attack on Hawaii then. We walked about the museum and gave some donation. We also took some pictures of the underwater ship. We bought some snacks and enjoyed our time together. We stole kisses at times and while walking about holding hands as we followed the rest of the crowded crowd during our tour at the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center. It was a nice tour and nice time spent together as well. And afterward, we then patronized the local movie theater off of Main Road. That day, we saw Shooter, starring Mark Wahlberg. It was a pretty good movie about a discharged Marine sniper who had been recruited by the CIA to do survey of an area, but turns out that he was being set up to be the assassinator of the First Lady, and then he took revenge on everyone else involved. Afterward, we got back to a hotel room and had more sexual relations. We were both fucking machines, of course, once again, pleasuring each other in every way imaginable that midday in Waikiki, Hawaii. Delilah pretty much allowed me to do whatever I wanted with her used up body. For some reason, she seemed to love it up the ass. She loved it anally. She had mentioned that she had mentioned that was her favorite spot to be poked into. Perhaps her snag was too loose of some sort from her childhood depravity. I didn't mind. I would do anything to please this girl, Lord. Anything she asked me to, I would do it. Sexually, of course. I know it's sinful to commit sodomy, but it's where she wanted it, and I was more than happy to serve and fulfill her needs. In God's name, I pray. Routinely, about once a day or more, Delia talked to her and discussed her daily routines and activity in Hawaii with her mother on the cell phone, never once bothering to mention who she was with or what she was doing with in her room with her mom. I felt sorry. I felt sort of left out then. I so bad wanted her mother to know that about us, about our relationship. I always wanted to be real quiet. I I had always I always had to be really quiet when she talked to her mother with the conversation. No matter if I was busy eating away at her snatcher while she was stroking me up and down, she talked on the phone nonchalantly with her mother, although we were having sex. I had to keep my mouth shut and keep quiet to make sure that her mother won't hear our fingering each other in the background. We fucked and fucked that night away. We went to sleep earlier than the previous night because the next day we were attending Easter Sunday at the nearby cathedral. April 8th, 2007, Sunday. Easter Sunday worship and return to Cherry Pineapple Grove, California. April 8th, 2007, sixth day. After a good night of raw, unprotected, sassy sex and poundings, Delilah and I turned into bed early that night before the previous day. We had decided to attend the 10 a.m. Easter Sunday observation that following Sunday. Also that Sunday afternoon, we were scheduled to return to our city of residence back in the mainland. The worship cathedral of Our Lady of Peace was several blocks away from the hotel that we were staying at. Before going, we showered and made love several more times, and then when we went to church to worship. After a good brisk walk, we arrived to the cathedral, and it was really packed with worshippers. People had to stand in aisleways and byway. It was a really nice and large cathedral. On this Easter Sunday, so many worshippers wanted to be there for that Sunday morning service and prayers. Delilah and I managed to find a seat on a stuffed bench. Once they had packed as much as they could, the staff of the cathedral began their service. The sermon and the ritual began at 10 a.m., and after several hours of chanting and reading from the Holy Bible, we gathered and all lined up into two single file line, waiting to get our piece of bread and juice and blessing from the chaplain and his assistants that went about passing out the body of Christ for the worshipper. We ate our piece and drank our blood and did our thing, and after the service was done, and Delilah seemed satisfied with her Catholic belief and practices, we left the nice cathedral and went on our way about town. I was really glad I could be in I was really glad that I could be in church with Delilah then that morning for the Easter service. I'm not as religious or as devoted as a worshiper as Delilah and her devil mothers. I wasn't really I was really glad that I could be in church with Delilah that morning for the Easter services. I'm not a religious or I'm not as religious or as devoted a worshiper as Delilah and her devil mother said they are. They always go to church every Sunday to worship, so they said, whatnot. So Delilah had often told me. With their congregation at the church off of 7th Street and one Peril in the city of Cherry Pineapple Grove. Shinshin had no idea what they Shinshin had no idea what they do there at that church. They could be dancing and ranting to Satan for all they know. You know, Lilith once even gave Shinshin a church card as a gift, saying that she had prayed for him and his illnesses. She had prayed to Saint Jude and such to look over his soul and body. I think she was cursing and damning him instead. That devil woman is strange and scary in that sense, I tell you. What a whore. What a succubus. I often prayed and worship on my own, usually being usually before going to bed. I have my same saying and phrase every night before I close my eye and slumber to daydream or dreamland. We saw the whole Easter religious ceremony through the Cathedral of Our Lady of Peace, and after we walked about in hand and back to our hotel room, packed our belongings, and before checking out the hotel, we had sex and made love once more. Happily, we both enjoyed fucking each other's up brains out during our entire vacation in Hawaii. I have enjoyed our lovemaking, no matter how often or how much we go about devouring and punishing each other's body with heavy, sticky sex. I love every minute of it with Delilah. I am glad that she had told me that I haven't. I am glad that she had told me that I have been her only one since her father molested her when she was younger. But that isn't true, is it? There had been many others before I was. I was never her first. Around 13:30, we checked out of the hotel and drove around town. Before going to the airport to catch our flight back home, we drove around with our luggage in tow in the back seat and trunk. We patronized several city parks along the coastline and enjoyed each other's company. Before we had to return to the before we had to return the Enterprise rental car and make our way to the airport, we ate the leftover food we had purchased during our outing in Hawaii. Afterward, we had the car cleaned and vacuumed, and then we drove around the island catching the highway and byway. The speed limit on the freeway in Oahu is only 45 miles per hour. That sucked, but I still drove faster than the posted speed limit. After driving around, we went to eat lunch at an Asian restaurant, and we had a good meal there, eating away at a combination of fried rice, shrimp dumpling, pork rolls, chicken sticks, several sweets and sour egg drop soup, and eating off other buffet-style Asian dishes and cuisine, and drinking some hot oolong tea, and just went whining and dining like usual with each other. After a good meal and our stomach stuffed with MSG mixed food and dishes, we decided to return the rental car earlier than our due time to Enterprise. Our flight wasn't until 7 p.m. that evening, and since we will be flying back to the mainland, we will be losing several hours of daylight, and we had to first fly from Oahu to the island of Maui, and then from Maui to LAX. So we checked in and returned our rental car and got a great deal out of it. I didn't pay too much for the week-long car rental from Enterprise Rental. Afterward, we then caught the tram back to the airport and hung around several hours before going to our flight terminal. While waiting, Delilah and I played poison and other card games. Off and on, she would talk to her mom and friends on her cell phone. Eventually, we caught our flight to Maui, and then about half an hour on the plane there, we landed and boarded another plane from Maui and flew back to the mainland in Los Angeles, California. During the whole flight back home, we both needed both. During the whole flight back home, we both need not bother to poke or stab each other's sexual parts. We simply slept and took naps while holding firmly to each other's hands. Since we were both had exhausted from all the fucking we did on the island of Oahu, our flight was long. Good thing we slept pretty much the whole time. We arrived home the next morning around 0640 on Monday morning. Just like our trip back from Japan, I had to wait in the terminal until Delilah leaves with her mother before going out there to meet and greet my ride to take me home back to Cherry Pineapple Grove. My beloved brother from another mother, Dara, picked me up, and shortly after, Delilah and her mother had left the airport area. Delilah's mother waited for her at the American airline terminal, and they took a shuttle home from the airport afterward. I had a wonderful time with Delilah all the same in Hawaii. I love Delilah so very much, Lord. See what that bitch had Shinshin doing again? He had to hang around the LAX terminal once again. He had to do pretty much the same shitty thing as their overseas trip before, just like returning from their trip from Japan. He waited for another hour or so before leaving because Delilah doesn't want Lilith, her damn mother, to see who she was really traveling with. So Shinshin had told me. What a schmuck. April 3rd, 2007. Delilah's birthday. I had planned and wanted to be really special for Delilah on her birthday. I was going to take her out for a fancy dinner and fun out night together. For Delilah's birthday, I got her some jewelry, things that I can afford on my subbing salary now. Also, I got her a matching comforter that was like mine, the one I had found at Ross. I also got her lingerie from Frederick of Hollywood at the Lakewood Mall. I purchased a set of Hollywood Dream lace strapless corset for Delilah. She often told me that she fancied those kind of sexy things, since we often shopped at Victoria's Secret for her, while I often paid for the bras, underwear, thongs, and undergarment for my lover then. I don't mind buying her underwear or lingerie. Besides the lovely sexual gifts and jewelry, I also wrote and had given Delilah a birthday card that I had poured my heart into, and several other items, flowers and roses. I couldn't spend time with her on that day because she had made excuses that she would spend it with her girlfriend who celebrated their birthday on the same month and day, and have always done this outing together for a long time, so she had told me. That was her excuse that night. So Delilah and I celebrated her birthday several days earlier, and we made love to celebrate, of course. Love making was okay, but I wish I could have spent it with her on her actual birthday. But she still doesn't want her mother to know about me. She had put on the lovely corset set that I had bought her, and she allowed me to come all over her and lace gift that night while we were making sweet love. She celebrated her birthday with her mother and friend, so she had told me. I hope she had a nice time, and I hope she likes what I got her. I love you, Delilah, and I always will. I hope she feels the same, Lord. In God's name I pray. It's quite terrible what was happening to Shinshin then. Yeah, he got his nuts off and got his way with that whore sexually and emotionally, of course, of sort. I can give him that, but he couldn't see what was going on before him, or he hadn't realized what she was doing to him. Delilah was practically playing and stringing him along the entire time that they were together. Look at this shit. They have been together over a year now, and her mother and friend doesn't even know about his and her relationship. They don't even know about Shinshin. What the fuck? Delilah kept making excuses about why she doesn't want anyone to know about his and her relationship then. Delilah hadn't told a soul about Shinshin. I don't think she had even told God about him. What kind of Catholic bitch is this? What kind of Catholic is this degenerate whore of a girl? Shinshin had been the sucker in all this. He is so played, and he sees nothing from what she had been doing to him. I hate myself for not coming clean sooner. I really miss him, and I hope that he's in a better place now. Damn that premature bitch of an incest offspring. I curse the day that her uncle raped her mother and conceived her. If that hadn't happened, perhaps Shinshin wouldn't have died, and I would still be happy. No, he would still be happy with what he had when we were together. I really miss my beloved brother, Shinshinagami. I'm so very sorry for my many wrongs against you, Shinshin. I'm so sorry. This I can say. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 136. Be on the lookout for chapter 137, titled Senior Prom at the Phoenix. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.